Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya Kevin Eduardo dengan NIM 20231120 dari kelas IPA D. Saya akan mempresentasikan hasil esai argumentatif dengan judul Strait of Gibraltar, Phenomenon of the Meeting of Two Ocean Currents. The sea is the most important part of some countries. As is known, a country located on the coast or better known as a coastal country has a very high development, especially in the economic field. It is not only used for its resources, but it is also used as a trade transportation route for several countries that have territorial waters. One part of the ocean that connects two or more land masses is known as a strait. The existence of the strait makes the relationship between the two regions a very busy place, and the economy also increases. Straits are also used as barriers between regions or countries. One of the most famous straits is the Strait of Gibraltar. Strait of Gibraltar fact. The Strait of Gibraltar is one of the famous straits because here is the meeting place between two seas, namely the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea. As a result of the meeting of the two waters, a phenomenon occurred in the form of the appearance of boundaries, as if the Strait of Gibraltar was splitting apart. The Strait of Gibraltar is one of the straits that is quite famous because here is a meeting area between two seas, namely the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea. As a result of the meeting of the two waters, a phenomenon occurred in the form of the appearance of boundaries, as if the Strait of Gibraltar was splitting. This phenomenon is already listed in the Quran. In addition, an oceanographer, Francis de Cousteau, researched the phenomenon. In his writings, Cousteau talks about the barrier that separates the ocean and observers that the Mediterranean Sea has different levels of salinity and density and is inhabited by flora and fauna that are very distinctive or cannot be found anywhere else. In addition, he also observed that the Atlantic Ocean has very different characteristics from the Mediterranean Sea. Previously, he noted that there was no significant difference between the two waters in terms of salinity. Diversity of two insecable waters is the result of surface tension. The difference in density causes the surface tension to prevent the two oceans from mixing with each other, and it is as if there is a thin wall separating the two waters. Because the Strait of Gibraltar is a meeting between two different seas, namely the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea, there is an interesting phenomenon that occurs in the Strait of Gibraltar. The phenomenon that occurs is that sea water from the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea, even though they meet in the Strait of Gibraltar, the two types of water do not mix. Seawater from the Atlantic Ocean enters the Mediterranean Sea or the Mediterranean through the Strait of Gibraltar. Both have different characteristics. The water temperature is different. The salt content is different. The density of water is also different. When the two waters met in the Strait of Gibraltar, the character of the waters of each sea did not change. From the top of the ferry that we boarded, we can still clearly see which water comes from the Atlantic Ocean and which water comes from the Mediterranean Sea or the Mediterranean Sea. If you think about it logically, it must be mixed. In fact, it is characteristics of the water melt. Evaporation of water in the Mediterranean Sea is very large, while the water from rivers that empties into the Mediterranean Sea is very reduced. That is why the waters of the Atlantic Ocean rush into the Mediterranean Sea. The nature of the ocean when they meet, according to modern science, cannot mix with each other. This has been explained by oceanographers due to the difference in density. Surface tension prevents the two waters from the ocean from mixing with each other, as if there was a thin wall separating them. The Mediterranean sea water, which is dark blue in color, infiltrates to a depth of 1,000 meters above sea level in the Atlantic Ocean and continues to enter from hundreds of kilometers in the Atlantic Ocean and remains unchanged in its characteristic. This has been explained in the Quran. He let the two sea flow which the Sudan meet. Between the two there is a boundary that neither of them crosses. Quran Surat Ar-Rahman 19-20. Between Morocco and Spain there is a strait that separates the two continents of Africa and Europe, namely the Strait of Gibraltar. In the Strait of Gibraltar there is a strange natural phenomenon in the form of two seas that do not mix so that it invites astonishment and admiration of the world. In the strait there is a meeting of two different types of sea which are clearly visible from the color of the sea water. It's even like there is a boundary line that separates the two. And the unique thing is that the water from both sides of the ocean doesn't mix with one another. Many scientists are interested in examining this unusual phenomenon until the fact that it is found that the cause of seawater does not mix is due to difference in seawater. Seawater in the Mediterranean has a density and salt content higher than seawater in the Atlantic Ocean. By its nature, water will move from areas of high density to areas of lower water density, so that the current in the Strait of Gibraltar moves westward towards the Atlantic Ocean. However, seawater from the Mediterranean Sea is not mixed with seawater from the Atlantic Ocean, as if there was a barrier separating the two seas. Even the boundary between the two waters of these two seas was clearly visible. Sekian hasil presentasi dari saya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.